First ever Royal Ascot winner there for Tom Dascombe, also for Richard Kingscote, and huge celebrations. Then they got Pyman's Theory in the first today. Peter Hunt, the BBC's royal correspondent, nearly called you racing correspondent then.
I'm definitely not that.
Joins me to take us through the royal procession.
Right, yes.
And you will have been to Royal Ascot before, I assume.
have, fleetingly. I mean, my big worry is the fashion, because of course this is a key day for fashion, and my 12-year-old only the other day made me change my trousers going to a parents' evening, so I'm hoping I've not let her down today.
Well, in terms of fashion, as Gary and John were saying early, there is betting on the colour of the Queen's hat, and it looks as if pink has collected. Official confirmation that the Queen's hat is pink, and so is the outfit as the royal procession comes through the Golden Gates, led by the Windsor Greys. And in the first carriage we have Her Majesty the Queen and His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, and alongside them His Royal Highness the Duke of York and the Earl of Romney.
Yes, I mean, the Queen, a great week for her, and she's still on a high, I think, from a very significant royal visit she did to Ireland earlier this year. Prince Philip, a man who tells us he wants to quit before he goes past his sell-by date, but his aides say, you know, they can't keep up with him. As you say, the Duke of York there, the second time he's been in a carriage with his parents. When we think of the Duke of York, we think more, don't we, of golf than racing, and the other occupant there is the Earl of Romney, the 8th holder of that title, and he was once the High Sheriff of Norfolk.
And I'll give you the details on the Queen's outfit, or Peter will in a second or two, but let's have a look at the second carriage, in which we find the Princess Royal. Her Royal Highness has been here throughout the week, but this is the first time that we've seen her in the royal procession. Princess Beatrice, daughter of the Duke of York, alongside her, and then facing them we have Mr. Anthony Duckworth-Chadd and Mrs. Anthony Duckworth-Chadd. Well,
yes, of course, the Princess Royal, we know, don't we, has inherited her parents' love of everything equine, was in the Olympics in 1976, is hoping, of course, that Zara, her daughter, will emulate that. Princess Beatrice, well, we always remember that hat, don't we, from the royal wedding, which she managed to turn a corner with by offering it to charity and selling it for a sizable sum of money. A more subdued one this afternoon, and she is coming to the ends of her career as a student, and it's going to be very interesting to see what she does next, whether she is a full-time royal or whether she's encouraged to do other things. Also there, as you said, Anthony Duckworth-Chadd and his wife Elizabeth, who was a cousin of Diana, Princess of Wales, and he is a great friend of Prince Charles.
And you can see there the umbrella is not far away, just in case it should be needed. In the third carriage we have the Honourable Harry Herbert. We have Mrs. Harry Herbert, Chica, who's in the white closest to us, and that's Harry closest to us, and alongside them Anthony Andrews and his wife Georgina, who's in that beautiful navy blue, or is it black and white? I think it's navy blue and white. Looks fantastic.
Well, Harry Herbert, as you know, Claire, is a son of the late Carnarvon, Porchy, as he's known, a great friend and worked with the Queen. Indeed, it was he who said that when you talk to the Queen, it was like you were talking to a trainer. His wife was saying Chica. Anthony Andrews, he doesn't really need any introduction, does he, the actor? Interestingly, actually, he was most recently in The King's Speech. He played the Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin, so maybe something to chat with the Queen about over lunch, and his wife, as you were saying, Georgina, there as well.
Georgina's very knowledgeable about horses, very keen on showing and show jumping. And there will have been much racing chat over lunch today. Now, this will be the carriage that gets most attention, I suspect, from the photographers here, because in the fourth carriage we have Mr. and Mrs. Michael Middleton, the parents of Catherine, the new Duchess of Cambridge. Carol Middleton closest to us, in a pale salmon colour by the looks of things, and along with them we have Jim and Fitri Hay. Now, they are part owners of the favourite for today's Gold Cup, Fame and Glory.
Well, I think the presence of Michael and Carol Middleton will have set Twittersphere alight already at this racecourse. I mean, it's a very striking decision by the Queen. It was her decision, I'm told, to have them here so early on, and as you suggest, the photographers will have that, I think, on the front pages of many papers tomorrow, that here we have the parents of a future Queen who's had lunch for a second time with the present Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, and as you say, with Jim Hay and his wife Fitri. And he apparently gained his interest in racing when he watched sport on telly with his grandmother.
Always a very important thing to do. Watch sport on telly, that is. And Carol Middleton, by the way, is a joint owner of a horse called Sorab, who ran on Derby Day, and she was there on Derby Day, as indeed was her daughter Catherine, Kate. And Sorab was very fast, finishing fourth in the big sprint there, and won at the weekend. We were hoping that we might see him on Saturday in the Wokingham, but declared a non-runner today. So the Duke of York will undoubtedly be keeping a close eye on the start of the US Open, the latest major that starts at actually has started, because they start at 7 in the morning over there, and I think that's midday here. You get full coverage of that on 5 Live and on the BBC website. But it's racing that most interests the Queen, and horses in general.
Very much so, and I can just tell you about her outfit because I've become an instant expert. She's in a pink and green silk print dress. It's a pink raw silk coat, and the dress and the coat are made by Stuart Parvin, a favoured designer of hers, and the pink straw hat with flowers was made by Rachel Trevor Morgan, who I think you know about.
I do. She made my hat today as well, Rachel Trevor Morgan, based in Crown Passage, just near to St James's Palace. And you can see there at the royal procession trying to ensure that they are not using the ground that the runners will want to use later, because we expect horses coming around the round course would be much closer to the rail than that, and on the straight course we suspect they will split into two groups and be either on the far right of your picture or the far left of your picture, but not necessarily down the middle, which is where the royal procession is coming. And such a relief that it's not raining right now, because it does rather ruin the spectacle.
Yes, and I mean, I had the sense there before it happened that it would have had to be absolutely tipping down for any sort of cover other than an umbrella to be there. I remember when they were talking about the royal wedding, it was made very clear that it wouldn't just be a few drops that would cause the bride and the bridegroom to be in a covered coach. It'd have to be a sort of a torrential downpour. They are prepared to, put up with the elements as long as they're not too severe. And I suppose the wind is the key thing with that hat and those hat pins. But I don't think we can overstate, can we, Claire, the importance of this for the Queen, the whole issue of her love of horses and everything to do with horses, a sort of passion that she acquired from a very, very early age, really, when she was given a Shetland pony, Peggy, by her grandfather at the age of 4.
It is a passion that has developed over the years, and when she first came into contact with a thoroughbred, she was so taken with the velvety nature of a thoroughbred's nose, just a very, very soft bit, the side of the nose, that she'd never touched anything so fine. I'm afraid the rain has just started again. The wind is picking up as well, and the umbrella's therefore rapidly rising. But they're very sturdy, the royal party. I think they have the view there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. The national anthem now. A huge cheer goes up around this huge crowd on Gold Cup Day. And we're now used to obviously seeing the monarchy and the royal family. But in days gone by, Peter, you'd have needed a procession because there was no television and for the public to feel close to them.
We've become very blasé, haven't we? But I mean, we have to remember and pause to think that she's the 12th monarch to lend patronage to this annual sort of highlight of flat racing itself. And it was back in 1825 that it was King George IV who thought this is a way that people can see him and his family. He started what's called a royal drive or procession. It's sort of evolved since then, and it was only in 1920 that we had what we have now, which is this everyday procession, which of course, as you all know, Claire, she has had to miss occasionally by going abroad on various foreign tours, and I think also when there was a general election inconveniently arranged, probably against her better judgment in terms of missing a day like this, because of course since 1945 she has not missed an occasion. Even during the strikes of 1955 she came privately, even though this event itself had been cancelled.
And since Royal Ascot got extended to the Saturday as well, we always used to have racing on the Saturday, but it wasn't Royal Ascot, it was Ascot Heath, and there used to be no royal procession. But it has been such a success since it was extended and the Golden Jubilee became the big race on the Saturday, and now is the most popular day of the week. I mean, it always used to be today where you get the biggest crowds, but now it's the Saturday.
And we've talked, haven't we, about the people who are here, because we haven't touched on who isn't here. And I think the crowd would like, of course, to see the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, but I am reliably informed that there is little likelihood of them coming this year, even though the Duchess's parents, as we were saying, are here at the moment. He's doing his work as an RAF search and rescue pilot, and she's gearing up for a very, very significant first royal tour by the couple to Canada and then California.
It's very exciting, though, certainly for racing as a sport, that Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge enjoyed their day at the Derby, and if she does come later in the week, there will be a huge reception for her, and also the involvement of the Middletons, of Mike and Carol, that they have an interest, that this is more than just it isn't a superficial enthusiasm. You know, they've got a horse in training, and it's lovely for them to be getting the reaction that they'll have here from the crowd, because I think it'll surprise them somewhat, you know.
And it's very helpful for them that they do have that interest, given that it's a subject that they can talk about when they met the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh over lunch this afternoon, as they did a few weeks before the wedding. They had a similar meeting, a similar lunch, where again the topic could have been this and other things that they share. And of course they are both live in this county, in Berkshire.
It's also interesting the Duke of York has been here for a couple of days this week, and that Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie seem to enjoy it as a social occasion.
Yes, I mean, both of his daughters actually are approaching a significant moment in their lives, and indeed in the future of the royal family, in terms of what they will do next. It's funny with Princess Eugenie, isn't it? She tells people who don't know her, you pronounce it, use your knees, which is a way of putting people at ease. But it will be very interesting when we know what Princess Beatrice does do, about whether this is the start of maybe this family slimming down ever so slightly and ever so slowly, and not putting her out to do full-time royal work, but getting some sort of job. But I think we'll have an answer to that in the weeks and months ahead.
And the royal party will come to a halt right in front of the weighing room here, on the edge of the paddock and the winner's enclosure, as the rain increases in intensity. And they'll be back down in the paddock most definitely before the Gold Cup, and the Queen herself will be doing the presentation for the Gold Cup.
Carol Middleton there was waving, as you were suggesting, to the crowd, sort of, getting into the spirit of the occasion.
Lots of smiles in the royal party. I think they know they've got away with it slightly. I should think they think, thank goodness it didn't start to rain hard at the 2 furlong marker. It's a long way. I'll just enjoy some of those images again. And it's why the racegoers get here so early, make sure they have a good position, because they enjoy this as much as they enjoy any of the races themselves.
It's very striking, isn't it, looking at those pictures there and remembering this is a man who's 90 and a woman who's 85, and who have come back from, as I was saying, I mean, I think she still is, people suggest to me, she still is on a bit of a high after that historic visit to the Republic of Ireland, 100 years since anyone had ever gone there from the British monarchy, and it was pitch perfect as far as she was concerned.
And I think from the popularity of the royal wedding as well, both in terms of the people who watched on television and those who visited Westminster Abbey afterwards and have continued to show their increased love for all things royal.
And as she said, didn't she, as she got out of the carriage going back, it was marvellous.
It was indeed. Peter, lovely to have you here.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for your help.
You.
Thanks.